Dear Venerables, dear sisters and Dhamma friends, as you all know, this is the time allocated for this question and answer session. It will be the same like yesterday. I will start with the written questions in English and then go to the Sinhala ones. And meanwhile, if anyone has any comments or questions or topics, cordially invited. The first question, Garu Swamin Nansa, I listen to your Dhamma talks very aware, very awake and mindfully. They are very, very helpful to me. I felt like you are addressing to me. I was not sure how to overcome my difficulties when I am coming here. But now I have clear idea to go ahead with. Looking forward next 2 talks. I didn't want to wait until last morning to thank you. Thank you so much. May all these Dhammadana merit help you to obtain Nirvana in this life. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Postscript, can we book Nissarana female room so that we can get meditation advices from you when you come to Sri Lanka for holidays? Please explain how to book rooms and how to get an appointment from you. Thank you. Regarding this latter part, I would like to mention that Ramani is basically coordinating from the Perth. So if anyone has any question or any this kind of appointments or any reservation, I think she would help. Or from the Melbourne, Udara is here, or that sometimes Badra, whoever may be, those who know, you simply tell them and they will just direct the email or any messages to me, so I can help mediate it. And further, in the meditation center, we are going to start the retreat. Have no rooms. There are 3 dormitories. It's accommodating about 30 beds. So you have to put up with in dormitory conditions. And so therefore, there is no reservation of rooms. And the other thing is that I am usually not organizing any retreats. It is being organized by already organized teams or organizations. So my initial stage idea was to have at least 10 days per each month. For the moment, January, February, March is been fairly booked. And in June, July, we have an international retreat. August, September, October for the moment free. And November, December again allocated for the trips like this. So whatever may be all the already booked retreats and the foreign trips for the moment published. So the simple thing I can request is, if you all have, if you all can make available the emails in a list, then I can hand it to Aruna. He will definitely keep you informed. So if Ramani do not mind, can organize to have a list of emails. Those who wish to add their name into this mailing list, then information will come. It is happening for the moment in the personal basis, but so far so good, it is coordinated well. Garu Swamin Nansa, it is hard to sit on the floor all the time because we are not used to sit on the floor this many hours for this many days. I can see many others sitting on chairs. But before I sit on the chair, I correctly wanted to know what happened when we sit on the chair while, number one, Sangha meditating on the floor, even Dhamma talk on the floor. Please explain. Thank you. This is something regarding the etiquettes and the morality between the monks and the laity. The question is, as far as monks sitting on the ground, is it worthwhile? Is it okay to laity to take chair? And while Dhamma talk is given, is it okay for a layperson to sit on the chair? It's both these conditions. On the health grounds, it is allowed. Otherwise, it amounts to be disrespect to the monks and the disrespect to the Dhamma talk. But if you are doing with due reason, health or any other kind of thing, it is no problem. Because specifically in the meditation retreat, what we are going to develop is the mindfulness, the concentration. For these, you must feel the comfort of your body. So, you are not going to take the mean advantage of it to make yourself comfortable and just sit. As far as you are using the chair and make use the opportunity to develop the mindfulness, I think it is justifiable. So therefore don't hesitate if you find any utility value in sitting, and I think everyone will understand it. Reverend Bhante, daily morning and evening I do Buddha Puja by lighting a candle. In case such an offering, flowers and kilampasa at the shrine. Please explain whether this falls into the category of Silapata Paramasa, rites and rituals. Buddha Puja and other kind of things is way you are developing the faith, and in the sense you can do it as a recollection of the Buddha also, as a Buddhanusati. So for all the kind of thing, these are good as preliminary actions, but you have to measure, or you have to be little sensitive how much time you are allocating for these kind of things, and if it is a proportionately little time, no problem, because for the person who has used to this kind of thing, by doing this kind of puja, the mind get seasoned, mind is prepared and come into proper vibration, spirituality, so that you can sit and meditate. And if there is no such a make use of this spiritual mind to use for the meditation or as such, if you are just doing it by itself, there you have to measure it and see, instead of sitting and meditating, just by doing the puja, will the purpose served? Because at the last moment of the Buddha, there were a lot of seen and unseen beings started to pay respect to the Buddha, and he told those who are doing all the kind of things are not really appreciating my teaching. Those who are practicing diligence and the mindfulness are the real practitioners. So therefore, he did not give the full-fledged appreciation for this kind of things. Of course, it is not a Buddha Puja, it is about dancing and offering flowers and all the kind of thing. So therefore, you have to have the opportunity cost. instead of doing Buddha Puja and just remaining at that level, or doing Buddha Puja if it is necessary and going for meditation is better. And if you are meditating, or if you are doing walking and sitting meditation, that is the best puja for the Buddha. So if it, in the case of difficulty or to that, you may do this kind of thing. Otherwise, the best is to go for sitting and walking meditation and to develop diligence, or they are very difficult to say completely this is good or bad. You have to see in the relative way to keep the mind in the proper track. So in the conventional way, no one will come out and say that do Buddha Puja as a Silabbata Paramasa, but only the matter of the value, one of the matter of value of the time is the thing you have to think about. In Sri Lanka also, not only the lay people, even the monks sometimes do only little puja, and then they think it is their duty. But when you read properly in the canon, the Buddha has given the way. Simply when you are looking at the Noble Eightfold Path, no chance, no places for this kind of thing it is mentioned. But in the latter part of the history, where recollection of the virtues of the Buddha and doing Metta Bhavana and doing recollection of the death and kind of thing, considered as preliminary preparation for the meditation, sitting meditation. Under that, paying respect to the Buddha and offering flowers came into being. But in the early Buddhist thoughts, this is not, there is no chances you can see during the time of the Buddha. Very little chances or incidents you can see there was a kind of a Buddha Puja as such. So therefore, you have to be economical. You have to be you have to understand the value of the time and do accordingly. Dear Venerable, you said seeing, hearing, tasting, etc. are dhammas in Dhamma. Can you explain please? This is with the context of four foundation of mindfulness. The first and foremost is the stepping stone, is the dwelling on the mindfulness on body, in body is the start, and then the feeling, and then the mental states. The last one is the phenomena, the dhammata. This is being recognized, whatever which is not coming under the Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, Chittanupassana, that means dwelling on the body, or feelings and on feelings, and mind on the mind, come under the Dhammanupassana. That means the seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, all the kind of thing. But this does not indicate just seeing and going to the carnival and see different things come under Dhammas. You have to be contemplative and you have to be aware, you have to be mindful and you have to be diligent. And that is more than, more tricky, more demanding than the developing the mindfulness on your bodily activities. So therefore those who have trained, the early three stages are naturally invited to go into this, to be mindful when and where you see, when and where you hear, and with the help of the early stages of mindfulness only you can achieve to be mindful in each and every moment you see, hear and tasting, or at least try for that.
Yes, I was under the impression that Dhamma is seeing the rising of the mental practice, watching the rising of the practice.
Yeah, this is that rising of the seeing an object, hearing an object is also something arising in the mind. So this is a vast range. Otherwise, how can you delimit the Dhammanupassana? What are the Dhamma? That is Dhamma. Sometimes it is what is appearing in the mind. So without the involvement of the mind, seeing cannot take place. Hearing cannot take place. So therefore, all what is not falling under the early three categories come under the Dhammanupassana. Can you briefly explain how one reflects on the qualities of the Buddha as a meditation? So this is usually in the traditional way it says you are taking the 9 qualities of the Buddha, 9 epithets of the Buddha, and at the beginning you just recite it and try to keep the attention with these 9 qualities and season the mind. Whenever mind become tame to be with these 9 qualities, then it says you must understand the word meaning of the 9 qualities, and then that is one step ahead. And the third stage is, out of these 9 qualities, you have to understand what is the most attractive one, what is the most appealing one, what is the most prominent for your character. And once you selected, then you are dwelling upon only that character, instead of all the 9. And then onward, you start to feel due to your own appeal. And in the given that explanation, usually the text are going to take the very first quality as the Arahant. As an example, it says that Arahant means that he is qualified person. The Buddha is a worthy person to receive all the offerings and all the things. So that is why I am also going to reflect upon Buddha's quality, and that particular person is trying to confine his or her attention to the worthiness, the qualified nature of the Buddha, without letting mind to go astray on other wandering thoughts and sounds and pains. As far as you are keeping the attention continuous with this, the virtue of the Buddha, you feel the mind falls calm and collected. And in the insight way, it says how the Buddha became such a worthy person, because his mind or his stream of consciousness is not infiltered, not smeared, not mixed up with defilements. It is pure. In our case, those who are following the Buddha, often it is mixed up with the defilements, so therefore our mental state is not clear. As far as your mental state is clearly with the virtues of the Buddha, it is a kind of a clarity. That clarity is somewhat parallel with the total clarity of the Buddha. So therefore, as far as you keep your stream of consciousness only with the quality of the Buddha, that means you are making your mind little by little free from defilements. And then you start to feel the result of it. That is how you experience the qualities of the Buddha by your own stream of consciousness, which is slowly becoming pure and confined to the virtues of the Buddha. Venerable Bhante, after lunch I boiled the kettle to make a cup of tea. When I poured the boiled water to make my tea, I saw an ant was floating in my tea. I did not kill the ant deliberately. What will be my karmic conditions? With blessings of the triple gems, may you attain Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So what I would say is, as far as you are dwelling on this past thing you have happened, You are unwantedly dragging this event and make the present moment upset. Thing has happened without your volition. Just forgive and forget about. And then the karma will happen accordingly. But if you are going to again thinking, that is the way you obsess your mind, and that is how the self-regret comes in. As far as you know, you have no any intention, so that's all we can assure. Even without or with intention, things are happening, good and the bad, correct and incorrect. But if it is lingering, if it is obsessing, if it is keep on doing, that is the only thing we have to make sure, by keeping the mind here and now, enough chances we can forgive and forget. So that make sure the next moment over here, specifically in this moment, you are not falling into the same. So therefore, very difficult to earmark, very difficult to cut and dry, say this is the karmic force, because it is a vast subject. The Buddha says, very difficult for a person to comprehend it. But you know it is something you would have avoided, but it happened. Of course, as far as it is not happening with deliberately, without an intention, best thing is to forget and forgive. According to the Lord Buddha, the Sabbasava Sutta, Ditthasava have to get destroyed before coming to destroy the other chains, such as Kamasava, Bhavasava and Avijjasava. As an ignorant lay person, this was confusing. In the Sutta, please explain. Thanks. Usually, when you are reading the Sutta itself, it is very clear. The asavas are 4 in types: Kamasava, Bhavasava and Avijjasava. It is been translated as the craving, the taints regarding the craving, taints regarding the self-preservation, and the taints regarding the ignorance. But sometimes in other suttas, it may be appear as a 4-form: Kamasava, Bhavasava, Avijjasava and Ditthasava. That means the taints regarding the vision also, but Avijjasava, Ditthasava is somewhat synonym. So, whenever you put all the 3 in one basket and say asava as taints, practically Ditthasava is known as asava arising by seeing. And, Ditthasava is known as asavas arising by view. So, when you are comparing the Sabbasava and the other suttas, this Ditthasava come under the category of Avijjasava. That means Ditthasava, the taints regarding the views, come under the taints regarding the ignorance. Or in the sense, you have to consider these 2 as synonyms. So then there is no confusion. But when you are reading carefully, in the particular sutta we are dealing in Sabbasava, the Ditthasava is not appearing. But you have to say, it is coming under this Avijjasava, the taints regarding the ignorance. Venerable Sir, a few days ago, you touched on the subject of energy transformation into particles. Please give us some facts from what you have read. If the multiplication of dhatu, relics, also falls into the above category. This is what you find in the modern physics, energy transformation into the particles. It says the Schrodinger wave of the energies collapse into particles whenever the conscious mind is interacting with it. And if the conscious mind is not interacting, it will be ever energy wave. Whenever the conscious mind interacted, energy wave collapse and the particle happens. So this, some says it has been understood and recognized much earlier, but there were a lot of contradictions in accepting it. But now with the particle physics, it has been established. So therefore, transformation from energy to particle and particle to energy, we do not know how it happens, but all of a sudden it happens. And therefore, the unpredictable nature has to accept, because the energy, as far as it is representing as energy, not come under the gravitational force. And it has no boundaries, it has no shape, it has no manner. Soon it becomes particle, it come under the sphere of gravity, and the shapes and the manner comes. Then only one can see, pinpoint it and delimit it. So as far as they are shifting from energy to particle and particle to energy, the nothingness happen, thing happen, nothing happen, thing. So that is the point. Now the contradiction happens, but it is no more a contradiction. Majority are accepting, it seems, according to the present day books. And then it is giving a kind of a hint to prove what the Buddha mentioned about as the nothing, the sunyata, that is nothingness. The looking at the matter, even the Buddha told, it is sunyata. And unseen things also sunyata. So therefore it is nothing to behold. Even if it appear like a form, even if we analyze it and go to the minimum, it is also dissolved into the energies. So the analytical power is the one Buddha asked the disciples to develop through the diligence and the mindfulness. But later the question is asking, the multiplication of dhatu also falls into the above category. So this is, you don't find in the early Buddhist thoughts of this multiplication of dhatu. Dhatu means the relics. And but if you are going by the term dhatu, there are two kinds of dhatu, Dhamma dhatu and dhatu cheti, Dhamma cheti and dhatu cheti. Dhatu cheti means the matter, sometimes relics, part and particles remaining from the Buddha's body, or his things he used, or acquainted things like Bodhi tree, or his ball, or bodily particle, they are called dhatu. But they are matter. But when compared to that, the Dhamma he proclaimed is much valuable. So therefore, that's a two kind of chetis. Some cheti, or Dagaba, is enshrined with dhatu, that is called this matter. But the Buddha appreciates Dhamma cheti. Dhamma cheti means four foundation of mindfulness. So, multiplication easily you can do with the Dhamma cheti rather than dhatu cheti. But hardly there's a relationship between this energy transformation to the particle to this dhatu stories. Yeah, the particles to energy, energy to particle. That is the technical term they are using. The quantum is called the energy. That quantum can be a particle under certain extent. And again that particle go back to the energy form. So that is what very difficult to explain by the classical physics. And that is the point where that quantum physics come into being. And still it is in a debate or arguing, and slowly accepting it is a possible thing. And basically they do in the Europe, and there's one specific lab they are going to have electron collider and try to understand this, how it happens and what it happens. And America also have yet another small kind of a lab, laboratory when compared to the European one. They are now really going to study this, how and when and where this energy go into the particle and particle go into the energy, and it is a completely new area, and the world as such, according to the new understanding, only 4% visible, that is called visible particle, and 26% dark energy, and 70% 26% dark matter, 70% dark energy. The dark matter and dark energy is still accepted on principles, but no, you can't measure it. You can't pinpoint it. It is not come under the instruments. So this is a new way, and that is what the Buddha says, that when we see, we say what is existing, we can see what we see is existing. And therefore we see the world, therefore we take the impression the world is existing. But that existence or seeing only happen for this 4% of this visible particle. And what about the balance of 96% not existing? You can't say, because that scientists are trying to find is existing, but you can't see. But they are theoretically have to accept it is existing. So therefore, the seeing and accepting, seeing and believing is a hell of a question now. Venerable Sir, more than visual objects, I am disturbed by sanya, memories and imagery that bring up tails. Is this karma or conditioning? How can I get rid of them? Thank you. So whatever may be, whether it is a visual or whether it is a sanya, that is mental imagination or kind of thing, whenever the agreeability and disagreeability come into being, the desirability and undesirability come into being, this is the starting point of the taints. This is the starting point of the asava. So therefore, even if they come, even if you see, if there is no agreeability and disagreeability, there is nothing to fear, because there is no beginning of asava. Asava happens whenever the liking and disliking happens. So that is the point. You have to be alert, you have to be diligent, you have to be vigilant, whether you are seeing or hearing or smelling or touching or whatever may be. Whenever thing happens, if a liking or disliking happens, you have to understand you get hooked up. You get committed into that, and that will be taken you for a ride, unless otherwise, as and when this desire arises, you can note it, you are better off. You can understand how it happens, and under the ignorance, how it grows, under the light of mindfulness, how it stops. Kind of asava's journey, asava's way and evolution you can understand. So therefore, whether it is happening through visual objects or by sanya, it doesn't matter. But as and when it happens, you have to see your mental impression, whether you take it as agreeable or disagreeable, whether you like it or not. That is the point. Your involvement happened, your commitment happened. Then onward only it becomes karmic force. Then only it becomes a volitional action. Otherwise, you can fairly safe. There is no beginning of starting of karma taints. Dear Bhante, sometimes it's very hard to concentrate with this loud noise like cough. We have sacrificed many things to come here, but hard to get the silence. What type of akusala have we done in our previous life, on this life, or this life? You would also have cough. You would also would have given that kind of thing in the silent places. That's a very simple and straightforward answer. So, This indicates anyway the person writing is having a genuine problem, genuine question. So even come up to this condition, I think no one is doing it with intention. When the titillation happens, it happens. When it happens, that even that particular person is disturbed, outside is disturbed. So therefore, anyone would like to come out with a good intermediate suggestion for this question? So that this is the, at last it has been written with metta. But I don't know whether karuna is possible. Yeah.
You were sitting some coding and that was making my mind go round and round. So I could meditate.
Yeah.
And go to the other room and right there.
That I noticed and I appreciate it. If you are knowing that you are going to, it is going to happen, you can do some kind of adjustment. Or otherwise, use a handkerchief or something like this. And if it's going to happen, you can use it to reduce the intensity. So these things, because that particular person also, as he mentioned, should have some compassion, because he also, or he or she is not doing with the intention. It's a disease. But that particular person also wish to develop mindfulness, and he or she is suffering as well as still personally distracted by this situation. So in order to reduce the impact to the others, you can either go to another place, some other places where the sound waves are not directly coming, or otherwise use muffler and reduce the impact. So this is the way we can do, and but this question is asking, it is the akusala, or how do you call that, consequences of my own fault, that is why I am listening. That's also one way of understanding, but the coughing people also can think about and do for that, at least for the next 2 days. And help share with the others people, others silence. And
I was in Burma meditating for some days. This Sanat, and then I remember the next to a temple, the layout, Gata going from morning to night. And Tejani, I think. Tejani, I mean, we were all upset. So for the third or fourth day, some European people went and complained. So he had a good talk with us, and he realized that our fault rather than the fault of the loudspeaker. So gradually it settled down, and we were able to meditate on the sound itself.
so that is why in the Burma, these are 7-day chantings. They start soon after the Katina Peak ceremony. And so everyone sponsor, and one monk come in front of the mic and give the chanting day and night, 7 days. So if you listen, number of places, it's the same Buddha. They are following the Buddha and they are shouting. The other people come and sit. It's the same disciple. He complained. One disciple is shouting, other disciple is expecting the silence. I don't know what is the Buddha going to appreciate it. And when we were in Panditarama, and the main building is coming, it's few yards away, and when the Sayadaw is giving a talk, we can't listen. So much of hammering. So ultimately some people came and told, Bhante, we came from America and all the kind of thing, searching a meditation center, a retreat center. But this is like a factory. From morning to the evening, hammering. Then Sayadaw told, these workers are coming from 8 to 5 o'clock. So this time they are maximum using, so adjust yourself and do after 5 or do before 8 o'clock, and this time please do some walking meditation or something like that, because we are sitting in a building, this is also hammered at a time, and that is why we are here. This building also, after the hammering, we are going to use for meditation, not for any other thing, so please. And then he told, this is exactly what happened when I was in the Mahasi center, the Sayadaw was telling, and the buildings are coming, and we are congested and we are using, and throughout the day, hammering. But unlucky enough, we have to share the bedroom for 3 people. I had the roommate is snoring from the evening to the morning. So he told, day and night, I had. So to whom we can complain? So this is the way, and but this does not indicate that part. That is what I would like to emphasize. So when these things happening, the person who happen to make a noise, don't make an excuse telling that everyone has to tolerate it. That is a bad way. You have to understand, if you are the person happen to or going to do it as silently as possible, because all the others are very seriously meditating. So therefore, you definitely must develop the tolerance, the metta and karuna to cope up with. But the person who is doing also has to tighten the belts and do adjusting thing in order to appreciate others' silence, appreciate the others' weakness, the others' difficulties, and then only we can come to an agreeable answer. But the perfect silence is difficult. But there may be some improvements we can do by going prepared, by understanding it is going to happen recurrent. As that gentleman mentioned, you can go to a place where the impact is less. Yeah. But then I tried it, and then there's a huge heat and the hum develops. Some people can't get the real, some may be, the earplugs won't give the direct answer. Maybe the earplug type that I got, it's not the best. And internal heat develops and kind of a hum going to develop, and then ultimately that is also become uncomfortable. Do you have one word, I can't read it. Do you have that at Mitrigala, or can one go at any time? Can woman use the facility? Internet? Can you have internet and Mitrigala, or can one go at any time? Can woman use the facility? I think this is the very first question. It happened that how to develop the correspondence. So each meditation retreat so far has been organized by a particular organizer. Please use he or she as the mediator. I hope they will not consider it as a burden. And then otherwise, give me the email address, those who wish to come under this mailing list. Do you have? Can you read please?
And I do have retreats.
Retreat, sorry. That is the word I missed.
Well, can you go at any time? Question mark. Can women use the facility?
Yeah, of course, this is the novelty is that females or ladies can come. So far it was already open for the males, limited with 10 members at a time, 10 yogis at a time. Now we have expanded it so that just at the borderline, boundary of the Mitrigala forest, we put up this new block, a new building, and where the females can come and stay overnight, go for retreats, up to maximum 30. But it is not a continuous one. It is go for 10-day retreats. So you have to register for the retreat before through the organizer. For that information only, I am inviting to put your name in the mailing list so that you will be connected to the particular retreat manager, and then you can coordinate. And we are going to have retreats each month, at least one, as far as I am in Mitrigala. So, as I mentioned, January, February, March, January is already filled. February, March, I hope rooms available.
Is it by donation or by charge?
We are going to give completely free. And but I know some organizers, they encourage to give some donation or whatever may be, but our committee decided to keep it issue completely open because the building is done by the contributions and there's no rentals as such, but the light and water also almost free, electricity and other thing will cost. But the Dani or food is concerned, we have invited our regular donors telling that number will be double. Are you happy to come out with and serve it? Or otherwise, can you bring us the normal provisions so we can do it? Or otherwise, we can bring additional provisions to you and you can cook and serve. So far, letters has gone. So far, there is no detail with me, but I hope many will resort to do their own generous extension. There won't be much of a problem. So luckily we can keep the issue free of charge for the moment. What is the Buddhist position on suicide? Are there stories of Arahant committing suicide? Does the precept included over self with all other living beings? Does the first precept include over self with all the other living beings? As far as this anusaya kilesa, that means the underlying tendencies are concerned, it says kamaraga, anusaya, patika anusaya, bhava vibhava, kamatanna, bhavatanna, kamatanna, bhavatanna, vibhavatanna, this is not the anusaya. The root cause for this samsaric journey, approximate cause is known as tanha, is 3 times. Kama, bhava, vibhava. Kama means sensuous gratification. Bhava means self-preservation. Vibhava means self-annihilation. That is how it has been translated. So, parallel to that, Western psychology, it says that Kamatanna, they recognize as sexual gratification. Not the sensual. The Buddhist it is very sensual gratification, it's sexual gratification. And the Bhavatanna is the ego preservation. And the Vibhavatanna is translated as the death instinct or the suicide. So therefore, there are some parallelism from the psychoanalysis point of view. Regarding the position in the suicide, there are some case histories recorded. As the second part of the question goes, are there stories of Arahants committing suicide? There are 2 cases. The particular person cut throat and contemplate about the same feeling, the sensation, and death and arahanthood happens in the same moment. It is called samasisi arahant. That means using the death pain as a meditative object and enlightenment as well as the death happened in the same moment. Godika and Channa, both the cases are recorded. But they were not arahants beforehand. But Buddha is giving the final verdict telling their enlightenment happens at the death moment. So it has not been judged whether it's good or bad. It's kept open. But the thing is, this position of the suicide happened usually for the samsaric beings, and very difficult to explain and very difficult to understand how it happens. So the Buddhist perspective, there are some, how do you call the tangent kind of, informal kind of connection. When the Punna, one of the monk known as Punna, he asked the Buddha to go to a particular place for meditation. And he appeared to be a very obedient disciple. And then the Buddha says, "Oh Punna, the place that you are going to go, the people are not very gentle, not kind, not feel metta. So therefore you may face hardships and difficulties." Then he says, "Never mind, I don't mind that whatever the people, that is my training, that will be my they will be my teachers and I will be trained." And then the Buddha says, instead of giving you 4 requisites, if they are going to blame you, then he says, "I will be happy because they are not hitting me, just only blaming, I will go ahead." And then the Buddha says, if they are going to come and hit you once in a while, he says that it is good that if you are hitting with the hand, they are not using weapons, so I don't mind. That let them hit them, I don't care. Then the Buddha comes and says, if they are going to come and hit with weapons, what is going to happen? Never mind that I am not being killed, I may be injured, never mind. And then the Buddha says, of course, if they are going to kill you, then he says, meditators, when they are really contemplating and coming to understand this sansaric urgency, they feel like killing himself. So in my case, if someone is doing it for me, I'll be still happy. And then Buddha says, you are the best qualified person to go that place, you go and meditate. That indicates even at the time of the Buddha, there were some. And when you are read specifically the monastic code, usually it is the lay people not reading, some monks also do not read it, but when you go to the 3rd Parajika, it indicates one day the Buddha has given a talk on this friction, the suffering, the torture, anxiety in the life, and therefore asked them to practice on the repulsivity of the body. And after giving the instructions, the Buddha himself gone to a silent retreat, telling no one should come and disturb, and you can meditate. But what happened was, ultimately it became an obsession for them. They start cut their throat. Well, they found that no use of living further. And making use of the opportunity, there was one particular monk, he took a sword and Bhante, don't worry about cutting yourself, I will cut you. But you have to give a last will, your properties must come to me. Okay, that agreement went. And he used to cut 1, 2, 3 at a time. And one day he found that his sword is so much of blood. And at a time he felt, I don't know whether I am doing a wrong thing. So he went to the river, and while washing the sword, there was a evil spirit came to him and told, don't hesitate, you are doing such a great contribution, because these recluses are waiting to do it, so don't hesitate, you carry on life. So ultimately he made up his mind and started doing. And when the Buddha come back, he found a thin population. And then asked Venerable Ananda what happened. Then he told Bhante that they are so disgusted with their life and they are obsessed with this suffering, so they start cutting their throat. And then the Buddha asked to sum up the meeting, all the monks in the monastery. Then he gave the advantage of Anapanasati meditation, that is the in-breath and out-breath. If you are doing Anapanasati, or that means mindfulness, in-breath and out-breath, there were never this kind of obsession going to happen. And if you are going to keep on practice this Asubha Bhavana, the repulsivity of the body, this kind of distortions, derangement can happen. So therefore, please try to understand the value of Anapanasati. So the Buddha has overemphasized, emphasized the value of Anapana. It never give this kind of distortions. So these are the information available, but it has very little connection with the direct subject. But it has dealt with. So one has to arrive one's own decision, and that's all I can contribute. What is the Buddhist position on the suicide? And does the first precept include ourselves with all the other living beings? And that is also, I think, came out with the proper course. The Buddha has mentioned, as far as you have taken the vow not to kill others, that means the first precept, you have to consider yourself also as a being. You have no right to kill yourself. So therefore, killing, in that sense, the Buddha has given a kind of a precaution. And in the jurisdiction way, this is the punishment, this is the fault, or this is the misdeed. If you commit, no punishment. If you try to commit, the punishment is there. If you commit suicide, no punishment. If you try to commit the suicide, you will be work with the penal code. So don't try if it is a failure. If it is a full success, no one to punish. So,
in Sri Lanka, I read somewhere when you go to English, young people came down and their monks in somewhere in the south, written a lot of books and notes, and one of them did commit suicide.
That is Jnanavira's case. And he has written the path of clearance, clearing the path. It's very famous, and his writings and his insight is very, very wise, and it has a very big message to the Westerners, and many Westerners are really aware of him because of his insight into this dependent origination and others. And he had a chronic ulcer, and all the time he is suffering due to this gastritis. And ultimately he decided committing himself, the suicide. And last day, the last failure, he has put a polythene bag and with a rubber band, and he has gone to the last drop of oxygen. And there again the self-gratification happened. He removed the bag. And he explained at the last minute, at the last moment, so crystal clear, and he has put a note, next time definitely I will successful. And of course next time it was the case. And after that he has written the all his experience and bill and all the kind of thing, everything as he mentioned. You find clearing the path. And later, yet another small book published in the Buddhist Publication Society by the Jnana Seko, some of his writings, and it was a kind of a controversial issue for many, how such a bright, how such a deep meditator go up to that situation. But that particular monk, Venerable Jnanavira, has not kept any doubtful places. It's completely explained how we experience up to the last effort. And Sri Lanka so far was the best world in the regarding this committing suicide. We have the highest marks.
In this Java stories, there are occasions where he commits suicide.
Yeah, it is a very, I remember one story, and it's a very appealing one, very touchy. He was ascetic and well decided and determined, living in the forest by the side of the river. And one day he heard a cry for help, and when he's looking at a young lady, he's taken away by the current, and somehow the other he jumped and rescued the lady. And then he tell that lady This is the, the most dangerous thing to my celibate life. Of course, I save you. You must promise, you must not live here in close by. Because otherwise I am dead sure that is the end of my celibate life. Because you are so young, so beautiful. Ultimately that lady also says, of course, I will not live here, but I am undergoing a very unfortunate, unjustifiable situation. I hate human life. I hate society. And therefore I am also going to get a ascetic life. And she promised to live in the other mountain, not to visit him. That was the case. But after a number of years, this ascetic, living in the cave, slowly start to think, how about if I go to that lady? And he is obsessed. And at the beginning, he managed with his moral restrainment and all the virtues and kind of thing. But day by day, start to come out. And one day, and he knows, if he go, definitely that lady will yield because he was rescued by this ascetic. And one day he finds it's so obsessing, he has nothing to do. Ultimately he decides that it is torturing, so he has to go out and in search of that lady. So in the darkness, he used to come out with the cave, and it has been usually blocked by a big rock. And he has to creep under the rock. It has to lift by him and put a peg, it's still a rock, and in that space only he has to creep out. So he lift the big rock and put the peg, and he got the space, and he is now creeping. While creeping, he is contemplating and telling, definitely now I am going out. That is the end of my celibate life, and the spirituality, all the virtues, but can't help. His feelings are such. So he was tortured, burning. While creeping, he told, am I to go out or am I to commit suicide? And with so much of wrestling, he says committing suicide is better. So he kicked the stone which is using as the peg. And when he's kicking, the big rock come and he commit himself. Because he contemplates that if I am to go out, that is the end of my celibate life, or that is the last decision to commit. This is one incident I remember as far as the Jataka story is concerned, and later, once the enlightened one, once enlightened, he related to this story. This is how it become, how to call it, tit-to-tat. It's such a wrestling, either to sacrifice your virtues or sacrifice your life. When we are cooking, we put our full effort to make it tasty. But when we eat it, it is not tasty enough to satisfy our tongue. Then we get frustrated. Is this Jiva Vijnana? Please explain. Why don't you add some condiments and some delicacy, and then it will be tasty. So the question is the Jiva Vijnana? This is not the Jiva Vijnana, this is the Rasa Trishna, your attachment to the taste. Of course, Jiva Vijnana part and parcel of it, that the whole incident is, our tongue is never satiable. It is the truth. But anyway, many ladies think they are good cookers. But only the eaters come to know whether they are doing properly or not. But this is the eater and the cooker is the same. So this is something solid fact. And anyway that then we get frustrated. Is this Jiva? The frustration is not the Jiva Vijnana. Jiva Vijnana is not letting the mind to go to the eye or ear or tongue, nose or body or mind. It pull and put into the tongue, put in the taste buds. The very particular Vijnana, the consciousness, engage with the taste bud is called Jiva Vinyana, or the consciousness related to the tongue. And when it happens, you may develop kind of a delicacy. Whenever you have a delicacy, you develop liking. And when it is not up to your taste, dislike happens. That is the outcome after the taste, after the Jiva Vinyana. Throughout the Jiva Vinyana is working, but I am going to say, this whole phenomena is not the Jiva Vinyana, it is 1/3 of the phenomena. In the choiceless awareness, how can we explain the choice of a primary object? Please explain, and thank you. I think in the last discussion also it partially came this issue up, how can one be, as far as they are using the choiceless awareness, give the priority for the primary object. So therefore, those who are taken a very extreme level of the choiceless awareness, not happy with the business of primary object. They just close their eyes and try to see whatever thing happens. So it may or may not be starting with something materiality or body or something. It may be either thoughts or feelings or whatever may be. But the primary object story comes whenever you are going to start with the contemplation of the body on body, and there also, once you let the body to be experienced in your, as far as the posture is concerned, and if the primary object by its own accord, something like the in-breath and out-breath or rising and falling happen, then onwards still you can use this choiceless awareness in a limited way. That means, as far as this primary object is prominent, you try to be aware on that. Whenever the sound happens, if the sound is much prominent and conspicuous than the primary object, definitely your attention naturally go to the sound, and you are not antagonizing it, you are not going against it. You shift your attention from the in-breath and out-breath to the sound and be aware equally, just like the primary object. And the pain happens equally. If the pain is stronger than the primary object, you take the pain. And you definitely changing the touching point to where the pain is arising, and try to see the pain as it happens. Or anything happens, sounds, anything, you give an equal chance after selecting the primary object. That is the way you can cope up with and compromise with four foundation of mindfulness integrated with choiceless awareness. The total choiceless awareness means that you have no even a chance or priority for even the primary object. And that is also I know from the Nilambe, where the Godwin was teaching, many people they are not happy to give priority for a primary object, and therefore they just be aware. But in my case, I found, once you selected the primary object, and in order to develop the mindfulness to the primary object more, you can use the choiceless awareness as a tool according to the strength of the signal, whether it's primary object or secondary. You try to be aware without any choice, without antagonizing or without trying to pushing it away. Specifically, when the painful feeling happens, usually anyone, just like the case of the coughing and the sounds, whenever the painful feeling happens, the coughing happens, definitely the antagonistic or ill will going to happen. Because you consider it as a distraction or burden. So, but the choiceless awareness is, you come to know you are in the breath, but the sound of the cough or the pain going to throb, going to pull away, push away you from the primary object, and that is the case. If that is the case, you just treat this intruder, the gate crasher, just like the primary object and try to be aware its natural characteristics. That is, in that way also you can interpret the choiceless awareness. And one more point, it is reconfirming the idea that I presented. When you go the Sabbasava Sutta, the last step is the kind of taints that you are going to get rid of by meditation, that is Bhavana Pahatabba. And there it says you have to develop kind of a meditation upon the 7 factors of enlightenment. Sati Sambhojjangam Bhaveti, Viraga Nisitang, Viveka Nisitang, Viraga Nisitang, Nirodha Nisitang, Patinissagganupassi. You develop kind of a reinforcement or galvanizing of the mindfulness as a factor of enlightenment. It says Patinissagganupassi. Patinissagganupassi is being translated by the commentators. They says there's 2 shades of meaning. Patinissagganupassi means that in order to maximize the primary object, you are going to sacrifice all your likings and disliking and give the attention to the primary object. As far as the primary object is concerned, you try to plunge into that and you go deep into that. Both the shades of meaning in the Patinissagganupassi, you give up all the secondary things and stronghold to the primary object. This is advanced level of meditator. He knows the value of the mindfulness, and he uses in a strategic way to go deep and deep into the primary object. At even the secondary objects are hanging around in the background, and it is maybe something other part, the opposite of choiceless awareness. You know primary object is the one going to get the deep experience, so therefore whenever the primary object and the other objects are available, you select the primary object and plunge into. In that sense, you have to sacrifice all the other secondary objects. So they are applying, adverting of our mind is very skillful, and by the time he or she come to know the primary object is going to give the culminating experience. And at that time, you have to give the priority and finish it up with the primary object. So they are the Patinissagganupassi explain, choiceless awareness is not in a full-fledged way. You give the priority to the primary object and sacrifice everything in order to maximize the primary object. That is how the shades of meaning are changing. So choiceless awareness is very good, very effective at the beginning for the yogi to have least amount of friction, least amount of discouragement and tension, keep everything equal. But once the primary object going to give the knowledge on the inside knowledges, you understand the value, you understand the shortcut through the primary object. There you maximize the primary object. Venerable Bhante, with much respect, when I am established with deep samadhi, with no thoughts and no vedana, that means feelings being felt, I begin to contemplate on the impermanence of the samadhi situation. But the samadhi never ends. Please advise the correct way, applying impermanence contemplation of this situation. This I would say, question is going on, but it says that when there is no thoughts, no pain happens, I begin to contemplate on the impermanence of the samadhi situation, and that is the one I would like to analyze. Whenever you come to experience kind of a samadhi, no thoughts, no Vedana, don't try to put any contemplations, don't try to put any thoughts or any steering of the meditation. You have to just let it get established, and then this samadhi itself will lead you to see things as they are. Rather than you are going to contemplate the impermanence of the samadhi. So this is the thing you have to correct. The Buddha mentioned, samahito bhikkave yatha bhutan janati passati. O monks, whenever the mind becomes concentrated, and that you see through, you have a foresight, and you are bound to see things as they are. So wait till that concentration, wait till that quality of the concentration comes. It's a matter of time. Don't try to accelerate it. Don't try to see the impermanence of the concentration, and then concentration will do by itself. But sometimes the samatha, samadhi, the mind, I think, react on the body by giving an extending light feeling, and in this way the mind automatically direct itself inside the body and grasp the elements such as mostly the hard and the air element, by keeping hardness inside and also feeling the rotating air in the circle inside the body. So I think this is going to try to explain that sometimes the mind itself see elementary characteristic, and that may be proving that impermanent nature, but it is not clear in the balance of the part, and it is with blessings of all times, Bhante. Thanks, Bhante. So if it is happening, no problem, you can go ahead. But don't try to see impermanence, don't try to see suffering, don't try to see the selflessness, because that type of suffering and the impermanence and the self you are going to see is not the reality. It is what you think, which is what you imposed upon. So it is not original. So original to happen, you have to be patient. They will continue with the same trend of concentration and the mindfulness. It will do the task for you. In this spiritual journey, how does one deal with lust? When does it weaken? So this is what it says, that you have to have the three kinds of trainings, the moral training, concentration training, and vipassana. In the moral training, by not killing, not stealing, and not having sexual misconduct, you are dealing with the lust related to the body. And by restraining your words and verbal deeds, you are dealing with the lust related to the speech. But when you come to the concentration training, whenever you are free from 5 hindrances, starting with kamachanda, the sensual lust, that will be dealt temporary basis. But in the vipassana meditation, whenever you keep the mind face to face with the primary object, momentarily you experience the lustless, the thought moments. So it is the matter for you to continue with face to face with the primary object, and there you can see whether lust is working there. So it's an assurance, as far as you are with the primary object, there is no chance for the lust to happen. So with the familiarization, you will come to know ways and means to get rid of in the permanent way. Venerable Bhante, with the development of mindful meditation, my mind is getting sharper, and as a result, I have developed two voices inside me. Self, I, non-self, me. It is funny to sit back and now watch these two to presenting their rationalization in day-to-day situations. Yet most of the time self-I wins over non-self me, and non-self me still goes alone with the egoistic self-I's rationalization due to the lack of application of the right effort and presenting its viewpoint. Although I am making slow progress, Bhante, could you please advise and encourage me as to how I should apply and develop the right effort? Root cause usually mention the right effort. For the right effort is the faith. If you have the faith, you will never give up, and rather you will understand with the wisdom what is the proper time to exert the right effort. It is not throughout available in any yogi. You have to be strategic, and one way of encouraging is that earlier there's no two things. Acceptance of the self was the 100%. Now there is a meditation. Now at a time non-self also come into being, at a time self also come into being. That means the fighting is going on. As this question mentioned, although I am making slow progress, that means that you let the two forces to fight each other, and you keep the choiceless awareness to see what is happening and not giving up. The observation, your vigilance is continuous, and there are the fighting going on. And one day something relevant to this, Pandita Sayadaw gave us an example as to say a police is catching a criminal, he has committed a criminal, and then the case is now listening, and there are a lot of witnesses, very strong. But judge give a chance to the culprit. Are you the culprit or not? He says, I am innocent. Okay, then he take the case, and then he give the chance to the complaint, and he come and tell, this is a proven fact. He is responsible for this kind of act. And this particular person, is culprit, is defending and telling, you can tell, but I am not. So it is keep on giving, and the judge is giving a chance for this side to produce one evidence after the evidence, and then all the court slowly come to know that the particular person is denying without giving any justification, but the evidences are very strong, evidence are very heavy. But the particular person still take a stand, whatever you are going to say, I have not committed. I am innocent like. So under such circumstances, the majority come to know what is the truth is, but that particular person still not surrendered. And the Sayadaw make the point, he says, under such circumstances, if the judge is going to say, you see, that the whole court come to know that even though you are not accepting, you are the one, therefore I am going to write my final verdict, you are the culprit like, that particular person will take the chance to say, judge is biased. So therefore he will go for the higher court. He will appeal again, telling that it has not been proved. So under such circumstances, even the court can understand, even the jury can understand, even the judge can understand. Best thing is to get more and more evidences, so that ultimately that particular person will surrender and apologize himself. Then onward, there is no going for the higher court. So, it appears like dragging. But if you try, the judge is going to give his veto, it's a chance for that particular person to tell that he uses his powers, and under the court situation, it is unfair, so he will go to the higher court. Best thing is to let the evidence to come. So ego is here, self is here, non-self is here. Now the fight is going on. So you have to give enough evidences by giving the mindfulness and the diligence. Ultimately, the ego itself has to apologize. Ego has to come and say, yes, please, the learned judge, I am the culprit, but please consider giving the least amount of punishment, like he has to come down. Then judgment, the judge is going to take the chance. He can either give the least or whatever may be. There onward he can't appeal. Otherwise our mind is so crafty, our mind is so happening in the disguised way, in the vanchanika way. If you are going to use your veto, the self is the one correct or non-self is the one, that your forking finger, your involvement, your manipulation work against the final decision. Even though it is dragging, let the case go on listening. There are some people who have had peaceful state during meditation. Some had pain. Others have struggled with the breath. At the end of this retreat, what do we all take back? Please discuss. That is a good way. Discuss. I am also a part and parcel of the discussion, so if anyone would like to share your views.
Hopefully it will make some progress.
The last question is, at the end of this retreat, what do we all take back? Huh? Yeah. So that, will that family members recognize this mindfulness, or will your value give the proper appreciation for the mindfulness? So the last day, towards the last day I am going to give a talk. It is to make yourself, even you are mindful or non-mindful, try to be indifferent. So therefore you can't say you are bringing the mindfulness back, because mindfulness also subject to the impermanence and ultimately ending up with the suffering. So if you are going to have a definite answer that mindfulness is going to take back, it is not the way the Buddha is explaining it. So the mindfulness is a tool. Of course, at the early part, it is invariable you have to have. But ultimately, that, as I mentioned, vadiyat hondai, no vadiyat hondai, no vadiyat hondai, that I don't know how to put it in the English. That is the thing ultimately you are having. That means in the sense you are, at last, the indifference, not the indifference, the equanimity is the final criteria. So how our rational mind, raising question like this, value this equanimity, how our fellow members appreciate this equanimity, because society is behind a decision, rushing to a decision, multitasking, and under such circumstances, whatever you bring, whether you or outsiders have a good appreciation of the same thing.
I will take on determination to meditate twice a day, and also I will try to be Yoniso Manasukara as much as I can.
Yeah, Yoniso Manasukara is, I think, much closer to the answer than the mindfulness, because mindfulness is going to give the Yoniso Manasukara as a right reflection. So, the thing is, there is no, how do you call it, the measurement or meter to check Whether you developed it or not, it is your own value judgment. Where you call this is Yoniso Manasikara, this is not Yoniso Manasikara, that is your own value judgment. I mean, there is no other way. I am just giving yet another alternative, yet another viewpoint.
You can gain some of the defilements, not take as much back.
So it is negative, that he is asking something to take back. You are going to leave something here. You are going to defile this place. Leaving you some of your defilements. So that, So that question is written in red ink. It's not a joke. Serious. At the end of this retreat, what do we all take back? So we'll leave it for the question there, for the discussion for tomorrow also. But anyway, that is the end of the English questions. So